Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb Podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. So I am really excited for today's transmission of light. So what we're going to be talking about today is manifesting. I am really excited for today's transmission of light. So we're going to be talking about manifesting, and also as well helping our energy to align to manifesting. So whatever it is that we want. So we're going to do a bit of an energy clinic today, which means your participation. If you have any manifestation questions. So the first thing in diving into this topic that both myself and my spirit team Skylar would really like to talk about in this is the misconceptions and the myths around what manifesting is and what manifesting isn't. One of the biggest myths that we encounter all the time is the myth of like energy attracts like energy. Now, it is a myth and there is truth in it as well. So a lot of people think like energy attracts like energy. So a lot of people think that the energy that's being mirrored is like your actions. So like, for instance, if you do good deeds, then that should pretty much guarantee good deeds coming your way. And that is not the case at all, because when you are doing those good deeds, you are doing those good deeds from an energy. It's from, it's from an energy that you're doing them from. Now, if you're doing those good deeds from an energy of an open and grateful heart, and you're really grateful to do them, you feel really good, you feel really happy, your energy is totally aligned with your truth in that moment, then yes, doing good deeds can indeed return good deeds back to you. However, most of us, when we're in that element of doing good deeds, a lot of us are in the wrong energy. We're in the energy of resentment, feeling hard done by, perhaps feeling obligated, perhaps feeling a sense of duty, feeling all of these feelings, and we're dealing with all of those feelings. And as we're dealing with all of those feelings, the energy that we're actually returning to us is more of the same. We're getting more feeling hard done by, we're getting more obligation, duty, more resentment, more of the energy that actually we're not probably particularly enjoying in our energy field at the time. So that's the biggest misconception in manifesting, is understanding. So one of the biggest tips that I have for manifesting is to, above all, in fact, William Shakespeare says this, or this is a William Shakespeare quote, above all else, be true to thy own self. And it is one of the fundamental pieces of squeaky clean energy when you're manifesting. When you're looking to manifest something, make sure that your energy is squeaky clean. Because if our energy is not squeaky clean, as in AK, we are rocking up to a situation out of obligation, out of a funky energy. And a funky energy is any energy that is mismatched to what it is that we're doing. Right? So unless you want to be there with your whole heart and you're hoping that these things that you're doing are going to return to you the more energy of what you desire, you're going to be out of luck until your energy is squeaky clean. So squeaky clean energy is absolutely essential in allowing yourself to connect. So it's absolutely essential in allowing yourself to connect with the divine and become a conduit for that which you desire. So there's many ways that I practice this over the years. So when, obviously I use the law of attraction, and I used the energy of the law of attraction to help me build the life that I wanted. Now, the first thing that I needed to do was literally outlined in my book, Get Selfish, is learning about my own energy first and foremost. And one of the biggest issues that people have within their own energy fields is that we spend a lot of time lying to ourselves. Right? We spend a lot of time telling ourselves little porcupines when that aren't even true, making up stories to ourselves. And these are not stories that we're telling other people. We're not bad humans. It's just that we're not that straight with ourselves. So we talk ourselves into things that are not aligned. We tell ourselves it won't be that bad, things like that. So one of the fundamental, most important things in learning to become an amazing manifester, a manifester that's easily able to channel your dreams into reality, to take them from the unseen realm into the seen realm, is learning to have a good relationship with yourself, an honest relationship with yourself. Not a relationship with yourself where you are lowest on your list of priorities. Not a relationship with yourself where you are constantly offering yourself up as the sacrificial lamb. So you're working often from the energy of sacrifice. So like many of you on this call, I know some of you don't have children, but many of you have children. So it's very easy as a mama that you end up like as the sacrificial lamb. You sacrifice for your children and things like that. These energies aren't actually really conducive to creating the life of your desire. So the first step is squarely on our shoulders of starting to improve that relationship with ourselves, starting to be more honest, and really being willing to look at the stories that we tell. So inside my LightWeb program, we have a tool that we call the stories tool. So we mentioned this before on the transmissions of light. So the stories tool asks 3 questions. Is it true? Is it real? Is it mine? Is it true? Is it real? Is it mine? That is the stories tool. So the first step in really learning to kind of tidy up our energy and allow our energy to become more squeaky clean is to really look at our own energy field and look at the stories that we're telling. Look at the stories that we're telling. Are we telling stories that are true? Are we telling stories that are real? And are they even yours? Because I had a story that if you had children, you had to sacrifice. And guess where I got that? I got that from my mom, because she had a story that if you have children, you have to sacrifice. And guess where she got that from? She got that from her mom. And round and round and round we go until like probably Adam and Eve or something like that, right? So right to the dawn of time. And the thing is, we end up, but is that really true? Is that true? Must you, as a parent, sacrifice? Well, I would say no, we don't need to sacrifice. There is other ways, other energies that we can work with, and learning those. Perhaps the only reason for many, many years why I did sacrifice was because that's what I thought, that's what you had to do. And I didn't leave myself open and available for any other type of reality. And it's the same in your world, is that you'll have stories that you have adopted as though they are your own stories. And this is just, have you ever heard yourself say, let me know in the comments, have you ever heard yourself, this is just the way it is? This is just the way it is. Have you ever heard yourself say that? So Vandra's saying I say that, and Rainy's saying, yep. Wow, right? Isn't it like, this is just the way it is? And we're so accepting that that is the only narrative, that there is no other narrative, that there can't be another possibility, that there can't be another reality. That is the narrative. This is just the way it is. Well, while we live in such a closed narrative, another narrative cannot be open to us at the same time. The way that Skylar teaches me this is really beautiful. Like if you've ever lived in the UK, you might have caught this on TV, but sometimes on the television in the UK, they show sheepdog trials. This is like actual sheepdog moving sheep from paddock to paddock. Now, the sheepdog trials are really weird because it's like this little square pen with a big gate that opens. So one side of it opens. And what the sheepdog's got to do is it's got to take all the sheep from one pen to the other pen. But what I want you to imagine is standing inside that pen yourself. And sometimes all the sides of that pen are completely closed. This is just the way it is. At that point, no energy can be, the pen is closed to new energy. It's closed to another reality or another thing. But when we change the language to saying something like, I'm open and available for, and we change the language to that, what happens is that we open the gate and new energy can begin to flow in. So when it's important that our energy is open and available for what it is that we're manifesting, whatever it is that we're trying to manifest, whatever it is that we're trying to bring into ourselves, it's really, really important that we're using language that allows for energy to flow. Because when we use language like, well, this is just the way it is, and we're so accepting and so solid, and if you actually say the statement out loud, this is just the way it is, you can feel how closed the energy is and how it's not really accepting nor yielding of any other energy, because this is just the way it is. It's a statement of fact. And when we have to be careful when we're using the statements of fact. Because when we use statements of facts, unless we're saying, I am so bloody wealthy and happy, and we're saying that as a statement of fact, something positive as a statement of fact, we don't allow any other energy in, right? Because when we say things like, well, this is just the way it is, what we're doing is we're accepting the common narrative, and we're accepting that there isn't a possibility for change. And because we are sacred creators and we're actually creating our reality as we go along by the virtue of our thoughts and the virtue of our most dominant thoughts, if that closed statement is a dominant thought, it becomes your narrative, which becomes your life. So it's really important when we're manifesting that we're keeping our energy open. Now, one of the really interesting things, and actually, it was one of the reasons why it prompted us to do today, to have a conversation with you about manifesting, was one of the interesting observations that we had inside the 100. So we have a group called the 100 Inquiry Group, and a lot of you have inquired about being part of the 100. But many who joined that group shut their energy down immediately. They were like, nope, I don't have the funds. Okay. And we were like, but the dreaming is free, the looking is free, the being in the group is free. Like, there's no pressure. No one's gone, but like, well, we'll have to get security up in here and escort you out. Like, there was none of that, like, come and be in the vibes, come and be in the energy. But it was so interesting to observe how many were willing to shut their energy down so quickly, right? So quickly. Pindy will get you into the group and you can have a wee look at the 100. Yes, of course. And you can see the replay as well for the 100. So, but it's like, let's play in the energy instead. One of the big things that we forget as adults is to play. And we make everything so serious, right? And I've been there. I'm not judging any of you. If you if you were in the 100 group and you immediately shut your energy down and you're sitting there going, oh my God, she's calling me out. Do not worry, right? Because the only reason I'm calling you out now is because I've done it. I've done it. I did exactly that for years. I did that. I would look at something and be like, I can't have it. Bank balance says no. Situation says no, and I would be so attached to that. One of the things that I really love is the fact that one of the things that I really love is like in manifesting and working with energy in the way that I have learned to work with energy, in the way that I teach others to work with energy, is that you get to play. You get to play with the energy, you get to play with infinite possibilities, you get to play with things. And in that playful energy, much can be accomplished and much can change. And that's what makes it really, really fun. But what I realized is that I had kind of like created, I think if there was if we could put a state of energy to manifesting happens best in a liquid fluid state, right? And if you think about water and we freeze water, it becomes solid. And can you imagine like trying to move in frozen water? Like it's like you've got big ice cube boots on, it's like hard to me, right? But when that water is fluid, it's easy to kind of swim through it or move through that liquid. And so ideally what we want is we want our manifesting energy to be in a liquid state where it's a fluid state and we're fluid and we're open to flowing wherever we need to go. But when we are in that very, very rock solid state, what happens is that we're not in a fluid state of energy. We're in a more, we shut the energy down and it becomes more like frozen ice and it becomes like solid. And it's difficult, not only for us to move, but it's also difficult for the larger part of us, which is the universe, to move in that energy as well. And that's what happens. But when that energy is like frozen, by God, doesn't everything get a little bit fucking serious? Right? It's so freaking serious. It's like, oh, I can't do it. And you're like, you feel so blocked and you feel so like, and, and that's the energy that's actually like all of those feelings in your body. If you can transport yourself there and feel that, all of those feelings are literally taking that beautiful energy field of yours that can be so wide open and capture so many experiences. And it's just like shutting it down, shutting it down, shutting it down. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller until not very much light can get through. To which point we're at a stage in our evolution of our life, we're like, I'm so depressed, everything's so dark, everything's so serious, everything's so shite. And I'm thinking, but of course, because there's like next to no light coming in, because we didn't allow ourselves to play. We didn't allow ourselves to dream, we talked about that in our dreaming big, which is totally, the dreaming is free, right? Like we didn't allow ourselves all of these things. And so that's the key word that I want to talk about, allowing, because everything is an allowing. And it sounds really weird because if you're in a place of experiencing, but this is my reality, experiencing the lack in life, right? It will seem, yes, very serious. It will seem, and this is not to make light of any situation that you're in, right? Because I've been there and I know what it's like. But the energy's stiff, it's hard, it's difficult, it's become solid almost, and we can't move in that energy. But here's the thing, in order to create abundance, like, have you ever heard you need money to make money? Who's heard that? Let me know in the comments, right? It's a big, big crock of shit. Right? But we've heard it, we've been conditioned to it, right? Like my father was part of my father's repertoire, right? You need to invest money to get money, right? Like you need to have money to get money. It's not true, because here's the thing, in order to create abundance, you have everything that you need where you are right now. Okay? And I want you to trust in that. Like that's something like, take just a breath and put your hand on your heart. Just take a deep breath. Exhale out. It doesn't matter how serious we've made life, how solid we've made it, but let's just breathe it out. And just let's remind ourselves that in order to create more abundance, we have everything that we need right now. Like everything is in your life right now. to create the next level of abundance, because abundance moves in increments. So when I realized this for myself, that I had everything that I needed to create abundance, that I had the next level, and that I had everything that I needed to create abundance, what was really amazing with that was that I realized I didn't need anything outside of myself. I just needed to learn how to start feeling abundant. Okay. As I started to learn to feel abundance, I started to change my frequency. When I started to change my frequency, my outer world began to change in accordance to my new frequency. And I started to attract in more things to feel abundant around or feel grateful for. And as I started to do that, the money started coming. And first it was a trickle, and then it was a flow, right? Because law of increments was there as well. So first it was a trickle. So when and in the early days, I played a little bit of hide and seek with abundance. So abundance would show up as a trickle, and I would smack it back down. I go, oh, it's not enough. Instead of going, okay, a trickle has shown up for me. Let's celebrate this trickle because I'm ready to make this trickle a flow. I go, it's not enough. And I would again get back into that solid energy and start shutting down the energy field. I would start shutting down my like desire of it again. It would be like, I'm like, it's almost like the universe is backing up the big abundance truck, and I'm like, and its little driver comes out with a clipboard, and I'm going, no, we're not accepting deliveries today, because I'm deciding, it's like, it's not enough. Meanwhile, there's pallets upon pallets of abundance, and I'm getting pissed because they delivered a small parcel first, So it's about learning to celebrate the energy that you desire. If you have asked for abundance to show up and a penny lands at your feet, know that the universe has just laid money at your feet. Then don't be pissed that penny's here. Celebrate the penny, because who knows? It could be a new client tomorrow. It could be somebody signing up for a package the next week. It's a trickle. Where there's a trickle, there's a flow, right? And it's learning to give the gratitude for the energy that you want, not be thinking about the quantity that you want that energy in. So I remember once getting on a call with a client the week before. She was in my Voxer inbox, all high, all happy. Oh my God, I sold like passive income. And she's all happy and she's all high, and we're celebrating in her inbox. She had several sales of a $27 passive income thing. The next week we had our coaching session, and on the coaching session, she says, I've made no money in my business. I'm like, what? Am I hallucinating here? Because I'm like, I'm sure she was all up in my inbox, and I'm starting to like doubt myself. I'm starting to think like, I'm like, no, it was her. And so I said, what about the passive income we were celebrating last week? They were just $27 sales. So you have made money in your business, right? But look how quickly we discount the abundance that's arrived. That's the moral of that story. Look how quickly we can discount it, because we perceive it as not enough. And because we perceive it as not enough, we begin to shut down the faucet of that abundance. When we could be turning that faucet on wide and increasing how much is flowing through it by changing the attitude in which we approach it with. So that was one of the biggest learnings, was learning to allow myself to celebrate whatever the shape the abundance took place in, and allowing it in fully allowing myself to learn to receive, which is why we create a program called The Magic of Receiving, right? Learning to receive, learning to become a good receiver, because it's one thing to put out to the universe and say, hey, I want this thing. It's an entire different set of energy to allow yourself to receive it in. I've seen people who have manifested amazing things and they're pretty much like right there and they haven't been able to take the delivery of it. And one of the best examples that Spirit gave me of this was a woman who actually had a prosthetic leg. And you know, this story is incredible because I will be the first to tell you that I'm not really a hands-on healer. It's not something that I do. I heal with a spoken word. So I'm sitting in a workshop that I'm hosting with another woman who actually happened to be a healer. And Spirit keeps tapping on me on the shoulder saying, you can heal this woman. And it was a particular client in the class. You can heal this woman. You can heal this woman. And I thought, I'm like, I'm not a healer, you know, but in the end, and it was one of those times where Spirit bugs you so much that, you know, like you don't get with the program, then they just, you know, keep you in your waking thoughts that are there. So I thought, I'm going to say, I'll go up to the woman at the end. I decided, I made a wee pact with myself. I'll go up to the woman at the end. I'll offer it, but I'll tell her I'm not a healer. And if she doesn't want to stay, then that's fine. And then I've done my bit for Spirit. So I did. But of course, the woman said, oh, yes, I'd love that, she says. So I'm like, oh, God. So I'd said to my friend who actually was a healer, who was co-hosting the angel workshop with us. I said, you know, Spirit's insistent I can heal this woman. So I had these really cheap, like gem chip bracelets on my wrist. They were maybe about £3. They didn't cost a lot. And Spirit drew my attention to the bracelets that I had on my wrist. And I said to her, if you went into a shop and you saw these bracelets and they were like £2 or £3 and, you know, you wanted these bracelets, like, would you buy them for yourself? And she said, yeah. I said, okay. And I said, and then I was shown this like kind of gold ring. And I said, you know, if you went into a shop and you saw this gold ring and say it was like £250 and it would cause no financial hardship to you or your family, that was the exact words I was given, it would cause no financial hardship to you or your family for you to purchase that ring for yourself at £250, would you get it for yourself? To which she replied, no. I thought, okay. I'm thinking, where is Spirit going with the story? I had no idea where Spirit was taking the story, but they repeat the story through me. So I repeat the story to the woman. I said, would you buy the bracelet? She says, yes. Would you buy the ring? She says, no. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? So then Spirit says, she knows what you're talking about. So I said, Spirit's telling me, you know what I'm talking about. To which she says, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Which I'm thinking, oh my God. Then she says, well, actually, it could be this one thing. She says, I have a prosthetic leg, and when my leg was fitted, it doesn't fit right. It's actually 2 inches too short, which is why I walk with such a limp. And it's been bugging me for years, and it's very painful, and there's lots of things, but apparently the NHS, which is our UK healthcare, won't replace it because it's a working leg as far as they're concerned. They won't replace it. And she says, my son has very kindly offered to replace my leg, but it costs £10,000. I can't let him do that. And I said, oh. She goes, it's funny though that you would mention no financial hardship, because my son actually used those words, she said. He put the money into an account to show me that it would cause no financial hardship to him and his wife. So there was money for a new leg sat in an account, and she's not accepting delivery. So I said, let me get this straight. I said, you've asked the universe for a brand new leg, and the universe has provided a brand new leg in the fastest, most expedient way it knows how, through the agent that is your son, and you're refusing delivery. She went, no, it's not like that. I said, well, what is it like that? And she went, oh, because then she realized it was exactly like that. And I said, well, I know why you can't take the delivery. And she said, okay. Why? And I said, well, we know that your self-worth lays somewhere between £3 and £250. Because even if it would cause no financial hardship to anyone, you would not purchase a ring at £250. Yet you'd buy the bracelets at £3. So you're allowed to have them, but somewhere between that. And I said, there's an awful long gap between £3 and £10,000. And I said, you've got to heal the gap so that you feel deserving of this gift that your son is trying to deliver into you. And I said, that boy has tried, because he's even stuck it in a bank account for you to show you it's yours. And you're still refusing the delivery. So she had, obviously she burst into tears. I cried Star Trek, so I burst into tears. The two of us, my friend who's a healer, she's an empath, so she had no chance, the two of us crying. So the three of us are literally sat huddled in a hall crying together. And we need to heal the gap. And she said, well, what do I do? And I said, well, that's my area of expertise. That's what I can help you with. I can help you heal the self-worth gap. And so I gave her some pointers and I gave her some exercises to work with to heal that gap. About 5 months later, I used to host evenings of clairvoyance and evenings of mediumship. So about 5 months later, and a funny quirk with me is that I see energy around everyone. So I don't really see, when I look at other people, I don't really see like regular humans. I see a lot of colors around everybody all the time. So I usually recognize people first by their auric field, because although the aura changes all the time, everybody has their own flavor. So that's how I normally see people and recognize them first and foremost. And what was so shocking was this woman came in and she was radiant, absolutely radiant. What beautiful energy field she has. And I'm looking at her and she's all chuffed to see me. And I'm thinking, who is this person? I'm like, I cannot recognize her until she held her crutches aloft and she said, Joanna, I got my new leg. And it was definitely one of the best, most incredible moments of my life, because it was so wonderful to see that she had healed that gap between £3 and £10,000, to be able to receive that incredible, generous gift from her son, but to also give that gift to herself, which was amazing. But the shift in her energy field was so incredible, so mind-blowing, that I barely recognized her. And later on, I actually said to the ladies that were helping me, I said, did you recognize her? And she said, no, you know what? It wasn't just you that thought she looked radiant. Her whole energies just shifted. She just looked so different. And it was beautiful to see. It was just absolutely incredible to see. And that is the power of healing. And sometimes healing is done through the spoken word, and sometimes it's done through incredibly talented people that can lay hands on you and do hands-on healing. The type of healing that I've always done is through spoken word, and Skylar helps me and puts the right words through me and hopefully, creates a healing for people. And it's an incredible thing. But how many of us are just like that beautiful lady and value ourselves too low, don't allow ourselves things? And I was one of those people. I didn't even allow myself to dream when the dreaming was free. I didn't even allow myself to dream. And, really just allowing ourselves to do that. So it's just one of my favorite stories, just to show the power of our own minds and the power of what we are able to do. And it's such a powerful story because it's so multi-layered, because how many of us have got deliveries waiting and we haven't allowed ourselves to have them. You know, who knows what's waiting in the wings for us? But we're like, oh, I couldn't possibly, or nope, Mr. Delivery Driver, not today, please. But actually what we want is the very thing that we wanted. She wanted that, and yet she wasn't in a place where she could accept that with grace. And that happens a lot in manifesting. So what I thought I'd do now to kind of change up the pace a little bit is, if you've got any manifesting questions, so if there's any, so Simone, I'm going to use you as a question here. So my gap isn't around money, it's around love, the love I want to have in my life. Okay. So I used to go through, when I worked exclusively as a life coach for a while, I used to go through spates of clients. It was like I would get a group of like maybe divorcees, and we would be talking, like walking them through divorce, or maybe they're thinking about divorce, or they were like, or working on saving their marriage or something. And then I would go through like a spate of single people, and then it was all about like maybe getting love to come into their lives and things like that. So it would always come in these like cycles, and I would get a group of clients, didn't know each other, it was just what I was observing in the energy. I so happened to have a spate of clients who were all looking for love, and the cure for love is very easy. It is to start to have the relationship that you want with another human, to start having that relationship with yourself. And so that means that you've got to learn the art of dating yourself. So what is it that you want for yourself? What is it that you desire for yourself? What is the love that you desire for yourself? Get really crystal clear on that first, and start becoming that person for yourself. And this is really, really important. So what would happen with my ladies was, quite often they would come and they would be like, I want the love of my life. I want to meet my soulmate. I want to meet this incredible person that's going to like basically fix my life. And so I wouldn't work on like dating tips or how they could do their makeup or anything like that. What I would do is I would work on them. And I would say, okay, let's work on how we can start to provide that love for ourselves, so that it's no longer an unmet need inside of ourselves. And so what would happen is that these people would begin to do the inner work and begin to date themselves, begin to discover a lot about themselves, what they liked, what they didn't like. They would take themselves out on coffee dates, and they would start having a lot of fun. And they would end up dating a person they really, really loved, which was themselves, which was great. And I always knew when these ladies were ready to meet the love of their life, because without exception, every single one of them said to me, you know, Joanna, how I like started this coaching to like meet the love of my life, I actually would be okay if I didn't ever meet them, because I'm so good now. Like, I'm feeling really good about life. And that was the moment I knew they were ready. And usually within about 2 to 3 weeks after that conversation that we would have, I would either get a panicked text message or a panicked message of like, oh my God, I've met someone, they're absolutely freaking phenomenal, but what will I do? Because now I've decided I'm okay on my own. And I said, go enjoy life, go enjoy that love, because now you're ready for it, because now their love and their liking of you is extra to yourself, because you're all stocked up, which means that you're in the perfect situation to have a healthy relationship, because you're not looking for another human being to complete you, or you're not looking for another human being to be meeting a need that you have within yourself. You've met that need yourself, and now you're ready to have a really healthy relationship. And I actually ended up being invited to a couple of weddings of my clients, which is really lovely. So really allowing it, I can be the love partner for myself, thankfully, but I'm not allowing it as a soul love relationship. So start just working on really, really loving yourself, really, and learning to, one of the biggest things that a lot of the ladies that I work with was really enjoying their own company. That was huge, really learning to enjoy their own company, taking that time, taking that space to really explore what it is that they liked. I truly believe it actually changed the caliber of partner that they also attracted in. They seem to all have attracted in very stable, very like really, really, really grounded, really stable, really good partners. I remember one client, and I know she won't mind me sharing this, but I remember one client saying to me, "Oh my God, Joanna, I've met someone and you're going to die when you hear what he does for a living." And I said, "What is it?" And she goes, "You know how I'm always telling you like I'm mental and I'm crazy?" Because this is how she used to talk about herself. And I said, "Yeah, uh-huh." He goes, "He's only a mental health nurse." I said, "Well, then you've won the jackpot." You know, and she was so, it was like, she goes, "It's so funny." She says, "He can handle it. He can handle all of this." She says, you know, she says, "He can handle it all." And I said, "Amazing, amazing." I actually went to their wedding. It's so funny. So let's have a look here. So I feel guilt, but I could move abroad, but I feel guilt. So Pindy, if so working on the guilt is, the first thing is to keep asking, be like a 2-year-old with a 2-year-old that has learned the word why. So if you've ever been around a 2-year-old that learns the word why, they ask why, and it's endless. Well, what we have to do when we're feeling emotions like that guilt is we have to keep asking why. And we have to, every time that we get an answer, we ask that answer why until we can get to the root cause. Once we're at the root cause, now we've got something that we can actually deal with. And this is one of these things, is like we tend to lie to ourselves. So what happens is that there's a surface layer to the guilt. So we'll say, well, it's blah, blah, blah. But then there's another layer to the guilt. And that's maybe not quite true either. And eventually it's what I call the money layer. The money layer is like, you can bet money on it and it will be, that will be the thing. So we need to move through all the different layers. And as we move through the layers, we get to that place of the deep guilt, of where we're holding that guilt. The other thing that's really important when we look at guilt is that guilt often comes with shame as its little cousin, and guilt also comes often with pain. So in the society, we're conditioned to punish the guilty. So in this case, is I still feel guilt. I could move abroad now, but I feel guilt. So the punishment in this case is the fact that you maybe have a desire to move abroad, but you're not allowing yourself to move abroad. So that's how you're inflicting the pain, because the pain is, I would really like to go, but I'm not allowing myself. So you're restricting. Quite often we learn this cycle, the shame, guilt, pain cycle. We learn that very early on in childhood. So if you don't eat your dinner, and then the parent gives you the consequence, so we know that something is going to hurt. So the consequences is no pudding, but the consequences often withdrawal. Something's taken away from us. You'll not get your toys. We're taking your pocket money. We're doing something, right? So we are used to the punishment being something withdrawn from us. And we code for this very, very early on. We code for this very negative cycle very early on in childhood. So the key here as well is to look at those elements as well. But if you can get to the base layer of the guilt, then you can begin to shift it, because then you have something that you can actually work on. So you could use things like EFT tapping. You could use things like in LightWeb, there's a whole host of light tools like the Violet Flame, and all these tools as well. Also as well, the story tool that I've mentioned here is the true, is it real, isn't mine. Quite often when we find the base layer of the guilt, we're maybe sometimes working with a conditioned idea and not really necessarily our own idea, and just something that we've adopted. And are we ready to let go of it? Are we ready to move beyond it? So I hope that makes sense. So Charmaine here is saying, my gap is 100% about money at the moment. I have bad news about my health, which means I'll be out of action for maybe 6 to 12 months. And this has pushed me into the camp of lack and guilt. So for this, what I would recommend, Charmaine, is we can focus on what we don't want. So what we don't want is obviously more lack and more guilt. What we do want is get clear on that, because quite often in a situation like this is that what we do want isn't crystal clear. We haven't even thought about it. We just know that we don't want what we don't want, but we're not always crystal clear on what we do want. So if you were to write, if you could have a magic pen in which you could write your life into the most epic version of your life, right? And you could write whatever you wanted, and whatever you wrote on the page came true, what would you write for yourself? And just really think about that and start focusing on that. One of the other things that I would suggest for this is the energy opening question of how does it get better than this? So focusing on the energy opening question of how does it get better than this? So on the days where it's really, really particularly crap, you ask yourself, how does it get better than this? And you're not looking to seek to answer that yourself. And you're also as well going to tell the snarky part of our brain to shush and sit down. They don't get to answer that question either, you know? And on the days where it's going well, you're going to ask, how does it get better than this as well, to demonstrate there is another level to the good days too, right? So it's a brilliant energy opening question, because the question is really focusing on the energy of better. So even if you're having a great time, it's perfect for that, because it can increase your tolerance for goodness. But if you're having a terrible time, it's perfect for that as well, because it's focusing on bringing the energy in to being better to what you're currently experiencing. But I'm sending you all the vibes. You know, what if, and here's another energy opening question. What if the 6 to 12 months turn out to be the most amazing, incredible 6 to 12 months of my life? Right? Because we can decide that they can be the worst months of your life, or we can decide, what if they turn out to be a journey that ends up as an end result, a positive journey for you as a human being. No worries, Raman, you can get the replay, absolutely. This Saturday, I'm doing a mini self-care retreat, and I need to give myself more self-care and love. And I posted an invitation for other doulas, midwives to join me, and I'm planting the seeds of faith. I purchased a beautiful notebook and cute supplies, lovely, beautiful. So, you know, this is it, you know, and when we become willing to give ourselves that energy, the universe mirrors it in. I have this saying that I use around the universe, and it's monkey see, monkey do. You know, have you ever heard that? It's like monkey see, monkey do. And that's what the universe does. It's like, you know, you do it, and then the universe mirrors you, right? And that's when, you know, like this really helped me to understand flow and resistance. So if I go up to a mirror and I push on the mirror, which is resistance, I'm resisting the mirror. The image in the mirror starts pushing back, and we end up with two very attractive looking women pushing at each other. But if I go like this and sweep my hand like, come on in, right? I end up with a very wonderful woman saying, come on in the mirror, right? And flow and resistance is exactly the same thing. So like the more we push, the harder we push, the harder we hustle, the more we're pushing against the mirror, and the mirror is creating an equal force to ourselves. But the more that you're willing to get in the flow and be like, I'm going to give this to myself. I'm going to allow myself to have a self-care day. I'm going to allow myself to have this. In fact, I'm going to make this a regular thing. The woman in the mirror, or AKA the universe, starts giving you more of that. which is what creates the ease, joy, and flow in our lives. So we have got to go first, and then the universe mirrors. So let me know if you have any more questions. Are any of you actively working on manifesting something just now? Beautiful, Simone. Amazing realization. I'm safe on my own with myself. That's coming up, right? So perhaps there's been times in life where you've not felt safe, and allowing yourself, really, really leaning into that feeling of safety for yourself. As you do that, you're going to feel safer with others, and you're going to create a beautiful love relationship that's healthy, not a love relationship where that person disappoints us because they're not meeting our need in some way, shape, or form, because we're able to meet our own needs, and therefore we're able to hold the vibration of that, which means whatever they do, their like is extra, their love is extra. It's like the cherry on top. It's like the sprinkles. It's the things that make life exciting and beautiful, because we're not looking for them. And then that way they're less likely to also piss us off, because a lot of people's relationship, their partners are pissing them off because their partner is not fulfilling their unmet needs. When you fulfill those needs for yourself, then you're less likely to get bent out of shape by another person who you perceive as not filling that shoes. You're like, well, I'm all good anyway. I'm all stocked up anyway. So theirs was extra. And that's, that can boil down to a lot of people's relationship problems, can actually boil down to they're looking for that person to fulfill unmet needs within themselves. So Jane here is saying, I'm feeling guilt, shame, and pain because I'm not wanting to do my business anymore, or at least not in the way that it is now. I think I should be doing it better, differently, the right way. And that leads into thinking that there's something wrong with me. So underneath, it's all that I'm not good enough. So the answer is being selfish. So let's look at that word should. It's a very pressured word. It's a very, very pressured word. The concept of getting selfish, or get selfish, as I wrote in my book, Get Selfish, The Way Is Through. The concept of get selfish isn't about being selfish for the sake of being selfish. It's about being true to yourself. And unfortunately, we live in a society where when people start to display being true to themselves, other people who would rather that person stay in servitude, not service, but stay in servitude, get really bent out of shape and say, well, that's selfish. Why? Because you want me to do something for you. So the concept of get selfish is where we are really stepping up to the mantle of understanding that there is only one human that could actually truly make you happy in this world, and that's you. You can have a go and be a nice person, and with the best will in the world, you can try to make as many other people happy as possible, but you will fail miserably again and again and again, trying to make others happy. Because here's the thing, even with your best intentions, even with your kindest, most wide open heart, you cannot think and feel for another human being. And therefore, you can never judge when that other human being has reached a state of fulfillment. There is only one human that you can truly judge that has reached a state of fulfillment, and that's yourself. And when you do that, you forget that we're also part of a collective consciousness. And when I understood fully the concept of get selfish, it really revolutionized my life, because I realized that if I want to do the kindest, most beautiful, most epic thing for my fellow humans, then getting selfish and learning to become an amazing custodian of myself and fulfilling my needs and healing my stuff, I bring that to the table and I pop that into earth. And then you get a Joanna Hunter that's on her A game, not a Joanna Hunter that's a triggered mess, full of guilt, full of shame, full of all these emotions that literally make me feel like poops. But then also, I'm not at my best for the rest of my humans in this world. And so the concept of get selfish is a prophecy that fulfills itself. Because in your willingness to take some time to really do what's right for you, you end up actually doing what's right for everybody. And at the moment, the guilt and the shame in your situation, Jane, is coming from stories that you're telling yourself, that you're going to have to do things that's going to upset the apple cart or rock the boat or lots of different things, right? And that feels upsetting to you to do that. But there is, I'm going to use an analogy. We talked a lot about love here, right? But like, imagine you going out with someone and you like them, but you're not that into them and you can't ever see yourself loving them, right? But you're not a cheater. And the person that you're with, they're not a cheater either. So you're in this kind of lackluster relationship, right? And you can't ever see yourself loving this person. And you're just like riding along. Well, not only you not being honest in a situation like that, not only are you stringing that person along, but that person's maybe in the same boat and they're like, well, I can't ever see myself loving this person. But because both of you are not cheaters, right? Both of you are placeholders for each other. And while you're placeholders for each other, there can't be a better energetic match. Does that make sense? And because there can't be a better energetic match, you just carry along. So sometimes we have to do the difficult thing, which is like the breakup, right? And we say, I'm really sorry, but this isn't working for me anymore. And that's a real Dear John moment, right? We're like, what? That's never going to feel good. Never, like, even if you're like, it's just never going to feel good, that conversation. But what comes out of the back of it is that you're no longer a placeholder for them and they're no longer a placeholder for you, which now makes two human beings free to have a better energetic match. And when we are willing to get selfish, we're willing to create the situation that allows a better energetic match. While we're not willing to get selfish, we end up as placeholders for other people. And they end up as placeholders for us. And none of us are particularly feeling the joy vibes, when there could actually be better energy available for everyone involved. And this is something that I've learned through the practice of practicing, because to me, get selfish is a spiritual practice. It's a spiritual practice in, listening to myself, responding to those needs and learning to be the one that fulfills them. And that means having squeaky clean energy and not rocking up in murky energy. So Raman here is saying, a new job, I've applied, but I haven't heard anything yet. So the thing is to make sure that when you're thinking about, you popped in the application, and when you're thinking about the job, is that we stay in that high vibration. We stay in that, like, the infinite possibilities of like, ooh, what it'd be like. The other thing that's really, really important when we're manifesting things like a new job, or we're manifesting like things like that, then one of the things that's so key is that we stay in what I call the loosey-goosey vibes. So the loosey-goosey vibes is that you never get attached. Like, if you hang on like a desperate child, like, it has to be this job or no job. And it's like, have you ever had your kid like hug you around your leg and you're trying to get out the door and you're like, like this, right? If we do that with the energy, what happens is we really jam the energy up. And so the key is to keep the energy nice, open, and free. And the best way to keep the energy nice, open, and free is to not be attached. Know that if it's not this job, it will be another job, and there will be something else that's an energetic fit. If we ever get into that stage of attachment, the attachment itself is what's causing the weight, and it will weigh down the manifestation and turn the manifestation, where the energy that the universe has to operate in becomes very solid. Takes longer, it's more difficult, it's harder, it's like pushing the boulder up the hill. If we can stay in that fluid state of, well, you know, I call it que sera, sera, that song, like que sera, sera, what will be, will be. And if we can stay in the que sera energy, que sera, sera, you know, if we can stay in that vibe, stay in that energy, we give ourselves a much, much higher chance of the job being ours, or the thing that we're manifesting being ours. Laura's on a manifesting spree here. She says, I've been manifesting so many amazing things in the last couple of weeks. Amazing. So Irene saying, I'm trying to manifest a few things all at once. Do I need to focus on only one thing? Is that better? It depends really on your mind. If you feel like you're flip-flopping in the energy, and only you can answer that, whether you feel like you're flip-flopping in the energy, then maybe you're better off manifesting on one thing. I will tell you though, that all of your manifestations, regardless of what you're manifesting, will all live at gratitude, because if they came true, they were delivered today. Say, for instance, they're half an hour from now, you get a little text message on your phone saying, we're half an hour away from your home, we're about to deliver. The overwhelming feeling that you would have would be one of gratitude. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm so grateful. So all of your manifestations live at the frequency of gratitude. So the more that you can practice gratitude, the more that you can get into those gratitude vibes, the more magnetic you're going to become to not just one thing, but all things that you truly desire. So that's why gratitude is always my number one practice. And of course, I've got the new gratitude journal coming out really soon that combines gratitude with affirmation. So that will be available quite soon. So Pindi is saying, I'm trying to manifest too much at the same time. That is that concept restrictive. Grow spiritually, increase my business, buy a home by the sea, live abroad, mostly so that I can go sailing and spend more time painting. So what I would suggest, Pindi, is that I don't think that there is such a thing as trying to manifest too much at the same time. The only time it becomes a problem is when we start flip-flopping between the energy. We believe that it's all of it, but actually, if you see that a lot of your manifestations are all connected to each other, right? So as you increase your business reach, so does your money, and so does your choices to be able to buy the home by the sea or to live abroad. Like, all of these things increase with that. So growing spiritually as well was probably the key. So the place that I would actually focus on above all of these things is growing spiritually, because the more that you grow spiritually, Skylar has this amazing saying that source does not know broke. And I love it. So the understanding behind that of source does not know broke, the understanding behind source does not know broke is that at source energy, they do not know lack. Source does not know lack. We know lack as a human being because we're experiencing the contrast to source, which is void energy. That's how we can experience lack in the first place. But the more that you grow spiritually and align your energy to source, the less you will know broke too. Because the more your energy becomes like source, the more you tap into the source, aka the place that does not know broke. And what happens is your life begins to change as well. And you start, which is why in all of my programs, all of the things, I bang on about so much about source connection, because source connection will literally solve every freaking problem a human being will ever encounter and will ever have. So the more that we can tap into that source connection, the more it is. So I would be focusing, if you want to focus on one above the other, I would definitely be focusing on growing spiritually. And the same as what I said, if you're trying to manifest multiple things, no, all of them will live at gratitude. You will feel grateful for all of it. So Carol here is saying, yes, my next class of students, I need to do more self-care before I take on more. I need to accept and allow myself to receive the love first. Absolutely. So good. Placeholders for each other. That's to describe me and my ex. That's why we're going through a divorce initiated by me. You know, even though that initiation, Rennie, might have been really, really difficult to do, and it might have been a super difficult, super awkward conversation to have, the fact that you have now freed not just one human being, you have freed two to create something better for both of them, right? Both yourself and your ex. And that's a beautiful thing. Ultimately, that is an act of love, and starting with self-love. And that's the power of self-love. When you start with self-love, all acts from that point forward will create love in their wake. Even if you can't see how it will create love, it will create love in its wake. So Pia saying she is off, that's okay. So we are going to wrap up there, but I hope that you've enjoyed today's session on manifestation and manifesting. I hope it's given you some insights. I will just jump over and see where we are in the Facebook group here. So let's see, I think we've got a question here in the Facebook group. So let's have a look. Marie here is in the Facebook group, and she's saying results from the cacao products from the farm where I am at the moment. Yeah, I don't know if there's a direct question there, but the key to any energy that you want is if you can get into a state of giving the energy that you want, it's really, really powerful and potent. So there's many times where I have been in lack for something, and I'm going to leave you, this is going to be my final thoughts on today's session, but there's many times where I've been in lack on something that I wanted, and what I've done is I've given the thing I'm in lack of. And this is going to take next level mastery. You need to be really rock solid in your energy, and you need to learn how to master squeaky clean energy. So when I was really, really broke, one of the things that I would do is, like, where there was a very little money, in which case, like, every penny counted, little money, I would take £1 and I would take it to the bank, and I would get them to give me 100 pennies for my £1. And then what I would do is I would sit on a bench on my high street at the time. There's like a little high street where I lived, and I would sit on a bench and I would get myself into a deep, deep state of gratitude for this 100 pennies in my hand. And once I got myself into that deep, deep state of gratitude, I wanted to manifest money. So I would give money, because whatever, if you can give that which you wish, you desire yourself, you can start to actually supersize your manifestations and move them on quicker. So I really, really wanted to attract in money. So what I would do is, from an opening, grateful heart, I would get myself into the state, and only when I was in the state of sheer gratitude, even though I'm like wondering how we're going to pay for shopping in like a day or so's time, I would take that 100 pennies and I would walk the high street and go into all of them shops, and I would drop a few pennies in each charity box and give to charity. And as I would do that, I would send all my love into those pennies, and I would drop them into the charity box. And I would do that. When I wanted coaching clients, and I really, really wanted coaching clients, I would give my coaching in the early days. Because what you want, if you can give what you want, then you get it back. But you have to be in the squeaky, squeaky clean energy. And so it takes a little bit of finessing. It takes a little bit of spiritual leadership and a little bit of spiritual practice to get into that place, into that mindset where you can be good. If you tip the scales while you're in that state of energy and you start to slide into resentment, you start to slide into feeling hard done by, you start to slide into a more negative feeling vibration, that's the moment you need to pull the plug, because that's the moment it's not doing you any favors whatsoever. And so the trick is to really try and be in that place of service, of really, if you want the universe to serve you, then learn to serve, but learn to serve from the correct open energy base. The more that you do that, the more the universe will start to serve you in return. So often when I was in lack, learning to serve while in lack was such an amazing, incredible spiritual practice. Because here's the thing, if you were already fully abundant, if you were already having the things that you had, you wouldn't mind giving of your time. You wouldn't mind giving of your money. If you had money, you wouldn't mind giving money. You've got money, right? So it's an energetic match. To having money is giving money, because you would have it to give. But the reason that you squeeze off the conduit of abundance is because you perceive that you're in lack. So when we're in that perception of lack, we start hoarding. We start closing down the energy. So I love this. Carol here is saying Andrew Carnegie would give dimes every day, always had dimes in his pocket all the time. I love that. Do you know that I've actually done readings, clairvoyant readings in Andrew Carnegie's office at Skibo Castle? I sat there. So that's a country club for the very wealthy. And I was invited up to do readings. And I got to sit in Andrew Carnegie's office to do my readings. And it was really cool. So you are so welcome, everybody. I hope that you really, really enjoyed this transmission of light. I hope it's filled you with lots of inspiration. Cannot wait to hear what you're going to manifest next and what you're going to create with your amazing, amazing creator power. I'll speak to you soon.